Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Nur Azina Zazwin binti Zulaimi Azana. My metric number is 300052. So I will present the table of content of our presentation. We start with introduction, historical background, major tenets, whom did the Chicago School benefits or seek to benefit. The next one is how was Chicago School valid, useful, or correct in its time? Milton Friedman, Robert E. Lucas, George Siller, which tenets Chicago School become contribution, and Gary S. Becker, and the last one is conclusion. The first one I will present is introduction. The new classical school of economics, after linked with the Chicago School, emerged in the 1970s as a powerful challenge to Keynesian economic theory. Pioneered by economists such as Robert Lucas, Thomas Surgeons, and Edward, the new classical school brought a renewed focus on free market, individuals' decision-making, and the use of advanced mathematical model in macroeconomic analysis. A key innovation was the adoption of the rational expectation hypothesis, which argued that individual and firm from expectation about the future based on all available information, making systematic government invention large ineffective. And the last one is the school play a central role in shaping modern macroeconomic theory and continue to influence economic policy debates today.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Siti Nur Hidayah binti Isa and my metric number is 292457. So today I would like to present about the major tenets of the new classical school of economics. Okay, for the major tenets, we have 5 the major. So first I will mention of the every major. First, we have the optimizing behavior. Second, we have observed price and wage in general tend to be good approximations of their long run competitive ones. Third, we have mathematical orientation. Fourth, we have rejection of Keynesian. And the last, fifth, we have the limited government. Okay, so first, I will explain about the optimizing behavior. For the optimizing behavior, the Chicago School believed people try to maximize their well-being by making rational decision. The individual is the key of decision maker, and people will form the groups like families or business to gain through the cooperation and trading. And they will choice are made based on expected benefits and costs, but since outcomes are uncertain, people will seek information only when it's worth the cost. For example, MB will equal with MC. And in short, consumer, workers and firms will be respond to incentive and both rewards and their penalties. Second, I will explain about the observed price and wage. The price and wage will reflect society's opportunity cost at the margin. Monopoly or monopsony, they have rarely causes lasting harm, and only government protection will keep them in the place long term. Even then, innovation usually breaks their hold, and the criteria of the observed price and wage, they will clear property rights and private deals help to reduce their externalities. And the observed price and wage also unusual to pay structures like high executive salaries or union wage, and often exist because they are efficient for those involved. And for the third, the mathematical orientation. The mathematical orientation at the Chicago School, they use mathematics-based model combining Marshall's partial equilibrium and Walras' general equilibrium method. And they also use the value real-world testing of theories. Throughout sometimes they leave it to others to verify it. Alright, for the fourth of the major tenets is rejection of Keynesism. The economy will adjust itself with small ups and downs fixing naturally. With the big recession happen mainly due to bad monetary policy, and they will not random to spending their drops lah. For the money supply, will change directly affect by nominal GDP, and for the fourth, fiscal policy alone doesn't work well, especially if people expect it. And for the last item, for the rejection of Keynesism, inflation is not caused by rising costs, but it always comes from too much money. So for the last point of the major tenets is limited government. Government is usually less efficient than private markets in meeting goals, but the officials often act in their own interest and not just for the public good. In the regulation, they often end up helping special interest groups and they not focus for the general public. So that's all from me. Thank you.
School of Economics heavily influenced both society at large and political conservatism in the United States. It is believed that free market, limited government intervention, and individual economic freedom is a must because society benefits most when people make choices in competitive market. It states that monopolies are often short-lived, regulation and can be harmful, and consumer choices drive innovation and efficiency. These ideas were supported by United States political conservatives after World War II, as the Chicago School opposed Keynesian theory. Its principles helped shape key conservative policies such as reduced taxation and a smaller role for government. Thank you. Economic philosophy strongly resonated with high-income groups and political conservatives in the United States. The school's opposition to progressive taxation and income redistribution aligned perfectly with their interests, as it advocated a tax system to raise revenue and not to equalize income. This protected wealth accumulation and minimized government interference. Its emphasis on free markets, limited government, and individual responsibility directly challenged the Keynesian policies of state intervention and welfare spending. The school's influence became particularly visible during the Reagan era, shaping policies that prioritized tax cuts, deregulation, and reduced role for the federal government.
A very good day to Doctor. My name is Gavin Chong and my student ID is 302290. In this presentation, I will be discussing about how the Chicago School of Economics has been valid, useful, and correct in this approach, and its influence on modern economics. This school of economics often associated with prominent economists like Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman has played a key role in challenging the Keynesian dominance, especially during critical moments during the economic history. First, let's look at how the Chicago School preserved classical and neoclassical ideas. In an era when Keynesian economics dominated, especially after the Great Depression, the Chicago School kept alive the importance of individual decision-making, the role of free markets, and the value of price mechanisms. For example, the School of Economic Thought emphasized on microeconomic foundations, which led to new insights into job search theory, balancing work and leisure, and better understanding unemployment. This was not just theoretical, but it helped to revive marginalist and market-driven thinking during a time it was largely sidelined. Secondly, the Chicago School monetary theory, especially Milton Friedman's work, proved highly accurate during the 1970s. At the time, economies faced stagflation, rising inflation, and unemployment, which something traditional Keynesian models failed to explain it. Friedman argued that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon caused by excessive growth in the money supply. This view became widely accepted when policy efforts based on Keynesian income policies failed, and monetary restraints eventually helped bring inflation under control. Friedman's modern quantity theory of money fundamentally reshaped how economists and policymakers think about inflation. Beyond monetary theory, the Chicago School also influenced many other areas. For instance, their views on unemployment, which help economists distinguish between short-run and long-run aggregate supply. The long-run aggregate supply, being vertical, reflects the idea that in the long run, output is determined by real factors, but not by inflation or money. Also, the Chicago School's ideas have been influential in labor economics, especially in studying job matching and productivity. Furthermore, Ronald Coase' work, another Chicago economist, gave rise to the Coase theorem, which had major impact in public finance and the environmental economy. Thirdly, the Chicago School also significantly shaped academic curriculum around the world. Their rigorous analytical methods emphasize on empirical testing and reliance on mathematical models became the standard for economics department globally. As a result, generations of economists have been trained in frameworks that originated in Chicago, including rational expectation, utility maximization, and also market equilibrium theories.
Hello, my name is Jurakulga Sivinch. My metric number is 702671. In this presentation, I will talk about one of the most famous economists, Milton Friedman. First of all, who was Milton Friedman? Milton Friedman is one of the famous economists of the 20th century. He was born 1912 in the USA and died 2006 years. Milton Friedman also achieved Nobel Prize during his academic years in 1976 for his work on monetary theory and stabilization policy. Milton Friedman was a professor at the University of Chicago, and he believed in free markets, which means letting people and business make their own choices without too much government control. Friedman challenged Keynesian economics, promoting his own monetarism over fiscal policy. Let's quickly understand the difference between Chicago School of Economics and Neoclassicism. Since Milton Friedman influenced both of them. Chicago School of Economics believed in free markets, less government, limited government, and using data and real-world evidence in economics. Milton Friedman was one of the influential leaders of the Chicago School of Economics, and The Chicago School of Economics was opposite the Keynesian ideas. Keynesian ideas. And Neoclassicism came to a little bit later compared to Chicago School of Economics, especially developed in the 1970s. Um, it builds on Friedman's work, but the advertisements more math and focuses on how people make decisions based on what they expect will happen. That's called rational expectations. Mm, so in short way, we can say that the Chicago School of Economics started the ideas, and Neoclassicism developed them even more. Now let's look at some of his most important ideas. First of all is monetarism. Friedman believed that controlling how much money is the economy is the key to keeping inflation low and the economy stable. The second one is he supported free markets. He thought the government should not interfere too much. The government should not spend too much or try to control prices, jobs, or businesses. He also believed in individual freedom. That means people have to make their own choices, not be forced by government or someone. And another idea is limited government. He wanted less government spending and few rules. These ideas were very different from what most economists believed before, and that's why he was so influential. Let's quickly understand the difference between Chicago School of Economics and Neoclassicism. Since Milton Friedman influenced both of them. Chicago School of Economics believed in free markets, less government, limited government, and using data and real-world evidence in economics. Milton Friedman was one of the influential leaders of the Chicago School of Economics, and the Chicago School of Economics was opposite the Keynesian ideas. Keynesian ideas. And Neoclassicism came to a little bit later compared to Chicago School of Economics, especially developed in the 1970s. It builds on Friedman's work, but the advertisements more math and focuses on how people make decisions based on what they expect will happen. That's called rational expectations. So in short way, we can say that the Chicago School of Economics started the ideas, and Neoclassicism developed them even more. Friedman's legacy and the Neoclassicism. First of all, Milton Friedman changed the way we think about the economy. Friedman said the economy is stable if the government does not interfere too much. And he replaced the Keynesian ideas. He believed that small government and star markets, and these ideas are still followed today. And the second one is Milton Friedman limited government. He argued that free markets work better than government control. Less government spending, less control, and more efficient economy. The third one is introduced natural rate of unemployment. He said there is a level of unemployment that exists always, and no one cannot do it. There is a level of unemployment, and it will always exist. Um, if the government tries to lower unemployment, it leads to inflation. Um, this idea helped build the base of new classical economics. The first one is focused on people's expectations. Friedman explained that people learn from experience. You cannot track them with inflation forever. This led to the concept of rational expectations used by new classical economics. Uh, so it in the end, Milton Friedman's work helped build a new classicism and changed the way we think the economy is. And it still influences central banks and governments around the world.
Hi, my name is Nur Nafisha binti Abdul Manap. My metric number is 300059. Here, I'd like to introduce you to one of the most influential economists of 20th centuries, Robert Emerson Lucas Jr., born on September 15, 1937 in Yakima, Washington, and passing away in May 2023. Lucas left behind a legacy that transformed modern economics. He studied at the University of Chicago, where he earned both his BA and PhD in economics. This institution would not only shape his thinking, but later become the center of his academic career. During his studies, he was deeply influenced by two economics giants, which is Milton Friedman, who taught him graduate-level microeconomics, and Paul Samuelson, whose book The Foundation of Economic Analysis had a lasting impact on him. Lucas began teaching at Carnegie Mellon University in 1963 and returned to the University of Chicago in 1974, where he would teach for the rest of his career. His most groundbreaking contribution was the rational expectation theory, the idea that people make decisions about the future based on all available information, not just past trends. This challenged all the Keynesian models and helped launch what is now called New Classical Macroeconomics. In 1995, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences for fundamentally changing how economists and policymakers understand the effects of economic policy. Next, Robert E. Lucas Jr. is best known for his influential academic articles that show his groundbreaking work in macroeconomics. Here are several of it. 1. Investment Under Uncertainty, 1971, where this concept published in Econometrica, volume 39. Second, Adjustment Cost and the Theory of Supply, 1967, where it published in Journal of Political Economics, volume 75, and Real Wages, Employment and Inflation, 1969, where it published in Journal of Political Economy, volume 77. These are the key differences between Milton Friedman and Robert Lucas on expectation and inflation. Friedman's whole adaptive expectation, where he said people for expectation based on past inflation trends, adjusting slowly over time. So when the government uses expansionary policies, it can temporarily reduce unemployment, but inflation rises later. While Lucas hold rational expectation, where he said people use all available information and learn from past policy outcomes. Expectation adjust immediately and market respond instantly, neutralizing the effects of expansionary policy. The result, no temporary benefit, just inflation. This contrast helps shift economics from Keynesian thinking toward the new classical approach. Lucas explained why expansionary policies not really work. First, when the government increase spending or expand the money supply, people aren't fooled. They understand that this will likely cause inflation, so they adjust their expectation immediately. Then, the markets respond fast. Workers demand higher wages to keep up with expected price increases. Businesses raise prices on goods and materials, and lenders increase interest rates to protect against the loss in value from inflation. As a result, instead of increasing jobs or boosting production, these policies just cause prices to rise across the board. The economy doesn't get a real lift, just more inflation. Lucas' theory shows that once people anticipate policy effects, the usual tools of fiscal and monetary policy lose their power. This is a central idea in neoclassical economics, which views the economy as self-correcting and questions the effectiveness of active government intervention. Instead of temporarily boosting profits, output, and jobs, expansionary policy caused the economy to jump directly from point A to point C, raising inflation from P1 to P2 along the vertical long-run Phillips curve in the figure. Let's look at Lucas' view on aggregate supply. First, short-run versus long-run supply. In the short run, prices and wages are sticky, so output can change. But in the long run, output depends on real factors like technology and labor, not prices. Second, unanticipated demand changes. If demand suddenly increases and people didn't expect it, firms may produce more. This boosts output and employment, but only for a short time. Third, anticipated demand changes. If people expect demand to increase, they adjust right away for wages and prices. The result? No change in real output or jobs, just higher prices, which is inflation occurs. This is example when investment suddenly increases, which is unanticipated increase. The economy is initially at point A with P1 and Q1. Unexpected increase in investment spending boosts aggregate demand from 81 to 82. Short-run reaction: producers see higher prices and think it means higher profits, so they hire more workers and produce more output. Then economy moves to point B, price level goes from P1 to P2 and output Q1 to Q2. In reality, all prices including wages and input costs go up. Firms realize costs are rising, so profits don't actually increase. They cut back production, shifting aggregate supply curve to left from AS1 to AS2. Economy now moves from point B to point C. In the long run, economy settles back at Q1. Long run aggregate supply curve ASLR is a vertical line where it doesn't change due to prices. Next, when changes in aggregate demand are anticipated. Say, central bank increases the money supply to boost demand from 81 to 82. Everyone knows this will cause inflation, so firms expect it. Firms know prices will go up across the board, including their costs. They don't increase production or hire more workers, their profits stay the same because higher prices equal to higher costs. Aggregate supply curve shift to left from AS1 to AS2 at the same time as AD shift to right AD1 to AD2. Economy moves directly from point A to point C. Real output Q1 stay the same, but prices rise from P1 to P2, which show that inflation occurs. ASLR only relevant when increases in aggregate demand are anticipated. Lucas says the economy is self-correcting. This reason why his theory is known as New Classical Macroeconomics. Now I'd like to explain about George Stigler, a major figure in economics too. He was born in Seattle in 1911 and passed away in Chicago in 1991. Stigler earned his BA from the University of Washington and an MBA from Northwestern. It was there he discovered his passion for economics, leading him to the University of Chicago, where he earned his PhD under the legendary Frank Knight, which is a rare accomplishment. Stigler began teaching at Iowa State College from 1936 until 1938, then contributed to the Manhattan Project during World War II and later joined the faculty at Columbia University. He also spent many years collaborating with close friend and fellow economist Milton Friedman. In 1982, Stigler was awarded the Nobel Prizes in Economic Sciences for his groundbreaking work on market structures and regulation. He also pioneered the field of information economics with his famous article, The Economics of Information, which, according to Friedman, opened a whole new area of study. George Stigler introduced the idea that information has value and cost, just like any other economic good. Before his work, economists often assumed that consumers and firms had perfect information when making decisions. So Stigler challenged this idea. George Stigler pointed out that information is an economic good. Dealing with uncertainty, individuals required additional information to guide the rational decision. More information is better than less. Consumers decide how much information to obtain by comparing marginal benefit (MB) and marginal cost (MC). MB starts high, then fell rapidly. MC starts low, then increases. Optimal amount of information is where MB equal to MC. Stigler showed that markets don't always function perfectly because people have to work to get information, and they don't always get it all. This helped explain things like price differences for the same product and why advertising and product reviews are so important. Okay, now let's see example of consumer behavior based on economics of information. The example is a consumer buying a new car. When buying a new car, marginal benefit where it will increases utility by finding the ideal brand, style, or lowest price. MB declines as more information is obtained. Marginal cost where it includes transportation, search expenses, time opportunity, cost, and delayed satisfaction. MC rises as more information is sought. So the decision point is if M be greater than MC, consumer will continue to seek additional information. If M be equal MC, consumer will stop looking for additional information. George A. Akerlof extended Stigler's analysis of information. Akerlof has been asked, why does a car lose value as soon as you drive it off the lot? Then he answered, because of asymmetric information, sellers know more than buyers. Buyers worry the car might be a lemon, bad quality, so they're reducing the car's resale value. Akerlof's answers make him won the 2001 Nobel Prize in Economics. That's all from me.
For conclusion, this Chicago School of Economic thought was begun with Milton Friedman in 1946 when he joined the University of Chicago. But this economic thought became popular and was being proved meaningful were because of Friedman, Lucas, Stigler, and Becker that working hard on redefining what economics could explain and how it played an important role in influencing the government's policies. In nowadays, the Chicago School became the standard economic tools that provides reliable and valuable references.